In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to create this beautiful pair of double spiral earrings. There we see the double spiral. And the earring actually consists of two parts. Part one is this wire formation that we see over here that consists of two coils, a top coil and a bottom coil, and a bow like form in between the two coils. Then part two are the spirals themselves, which are created using one length of wire. That spiral wraps up, around, and down. To demonstrate the earring construction, I'll break up the assemblage into two distinct steps. Step one will be to create this part that we see. Step two will be the creation of this. To construct these earrings, we're going to use our standard pliers, a pair of smooth jaw jewelry pliers, a pair of round nose pliers, and of course our side cutters. These are the standard pliers that we always use in the construction of all of our links. And the tool for creating the coils that you've seen me use in my other videos. This is that homemade tool. And I've actually created a variation on this tool. And that variation that I'm about to point out enables me to construct this rather unique shape over here. The tool is simple. Remember what I said? I took a piece of branch from trimmings in my backyard and I drove a finished nail through it. Very simple. Then later on what I did is I drilled a hole next to the nail that allows me to insert wire in and wrap the wire around the nail. The hole holds the wire in place, permitting for a very firm grip. Well, the additional modification involved me taking a piece of wooden dowel. How wide is that? Alright, it's a 1/2 inch. So this piece of wooden dowel has a 1/2 inch diameter, and I drilled a hole through it. That allows me to insert the wooden dowel that is about 1 inch long onto the gadget that I made to facilitate making coils. So what's the purpose of this? The purpose of the wooden dowel inserted on the nail enables me to construct this component of the earring. And how do I do that? Using my improvised tool to create the coil and then that formation over here. I grab the tool, insert my 18 gauge nickel silver wire into the drilled out hole. Now I'll wrap my wire tightly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 around the finished nail. Having done that, I insert the 1 inch length of dowel that I cut and drill a hole through. I insert it onto the nail and I push down. That helps tighten up that coil. Holding that in place, I take my wire and continue to wrap around the nail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll go another time. 7. I'm going to have to trim that off. At this point, I'll remove this from my improvised tool and cut away the excess wire. This still needs work, but before I move on, I'll form, since we're making a pair of earrings, I'll create one more. My improvised tool, insert the wire into it, coil it up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, insert my dowel, and continue to wrap it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'll, with my flat, smooth-jawed jewelry pliers, press the coil down like so. Release it from the improvised tool. With my side cutters, trim off the excess wire. When I cut the loop, I cut one at a time. Very nice. So, what do we have here? We have a bow-like shape with coils on either end. Now, I want to correct any irregularity in the shape and stiffen it up a bit. So what do I do next? I bring over my anvil and I reposition the individual units that I've made on my nail. I position the unit. I'm referring to the individual parts of the wire earring as units. I position the unit on the anvil. Using my 2-ounce ball peen hammer, I hammer the metal ever so lightly. I work it, I tap it. And the metal becomes hardened, resistant to bending or becoming distorted. Also, because I'm hammering it while it's in place on the nail, it helps straighten out the piece. I can also reattach that unit with the dowel in place and hammer out the wire, further stiffening and correcting the overall shape. I would like to add at this point that you've just watched me hammer out these forms using a very light ball peen hammer. This is a 2-ounce hammer. It's a metal hammer. And I use it to gently tap this shape, hardening the metal a bit. You may also use a leather mallet. The leather mallet will also harden the metal, but it won't necessarily alter the surface look of the metal, and some people might prefer that. Having completed these 2 units, I'm going to now demonstrate how to create the spirals and interlock the spiral units into the shapes that I've just created to complete the earring. I also need to mention that although to make these I use 2 individual lengths of wire measuring at least 8 inches long. I needed a little bit of excess wire to enable me to create the coils. I didn't really measure the wire, I just approximated its size. But for this part of the earring, I will need 2 lengths of wire, each measuring 6 inches long. That will enable me to create identical shapes. Making sure my metal is 6 inches. I cut 1 length of wire at 6 inches. And I'll trim down the other length to 6 inches. Step 1. I'll take my wire that I cut at 6 inches long and fold it in half. Place it out of the way. The other length, fold it in half. Making an effort to keep everything even. Place it out of the way. Using my round nose pliers, I'm going to form the top loop of the earring that will eventually attach to the ear wire. So, having folded the wire in half, I grab the tip now with my round nose pliers. Using my smooth face needle nose jewelry pliers, I crimp it. Beautiful. Take my second length that I cut and bent in half. Position it at the tip of my round nose pliers and crimp it like so. Beautiful. Flatten it out. We're in good shape now. We have these units made. We have the lengths needed to continue with the spiral formations. How do we do it? Now watch this very carefully. I'll take this wire that's bent in half and looped at the very top, and I'll insert both legs into one of the top coils of this shape that we've created. Now on one leg I'll position a wooden bead. You could use any type of bead you like. I happen to like these simple wooden beads. After I have inserted the leg of the spent wire through the wooden bead, I continue to insert it through the other coil. But I don't do it with the second leg. The second leg gets inserted through the top coil, but not through the bottom coil. So what do we have here? We have one leg of the wire that goes through the top coil, a bead, and the bottom coil. The other leg only goes through the top coil. Now to complete the earring, first I'm going to take this wire here and spiral it upwards. How do we do that? Grab the tip with our smooth face jewelry pliers and create that little bend. Very nice. And start to turn it up. So now we have a nice little shape coming into existence here. We have that length with a turned up spiral. Now for the length of wire that only went through the top coil. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab the tip, turn it, crimp it, and now we're going to work it up, forming a second spiral. I've turned it up, and I've just noticed that the spirals face two different directions, which is okay. I actually like that, and I make earrings like that all the time using this concept. But in this case, I wanted them to both face the same way. So all I have to do, get a firm grip on my earring and turn it around. Beautiful. Now, it's the earring I intended to make. Very interesting combination of shapes. And there is absolutely no limit to what you could do with this concept. Let's repeat what I just did and complete the earring. We take our piece of wire that's been bent in half. Notice it's not quite even, but it really doesn't matter in this case. We position both legs of the wire into the top coil of this unit that we've made, and onto one leg I also insert a bead. Now the leg that has the bead inserted, I continue to pass that through the second coil. Now I'll take my smooth face pliers, bend the very tip of the wire, and pinch it tightly, and now proceed to turn it up. Having done that, I'm going to take the longer length that only passes through the top coil, and I'm going to turn that up now. What needs to be pointed out is it might be necessary to bend the shapes of your spirals so they both face the direction that you want them to face, and I had to do that in both instances. Another thing that should be pointed out, one leg of the insert passes through both coils, while the other leg only passes through the top coil. And a bead is inserted in the leg that passes through both coils. The very final step will be to attach the ear wires, and that's it. So to attach the ear wire, I grab my plier, I grab my ear wire. I swing the loop on the ear wire to the side, insert my newly made earring, and close the ear wire. They're completed. A pair of double spiral earrings incorporating a new design element, this that we see right here. Had a lot of fun making the video. Hope you enjoy watching it.